When are you going to stop playing small? When are you going to stop living like tomorrow is guaranteed? Like opportunity is infinite? Like you've got time to waste? Look around you. Every second you delay, the chains around your life tighten. You know it. You feel it. That whisper inside your chest. The one that gnaws at you when you scroll your phone, when you binge another show, when you choose easy over necessary. It's the voice of your higher self screaming at you. Lock in before it's too late. But you ignore it. You silence it with distraction. You bury it under excuses. And while you do, the system laughs. Because make no mistake, it was built for this. The system was designed for your weakness. This isn't some random conspiracy theory. It's not paranoia. It's math. The entire machine thrives when you stay dependent. They want you buying what you don't need, eating what destroys you, working for scraps while they hoard the harvest. They want you medicated, pacified, numbed, and docile. And here's the part most refuse to face. They've been at this longer than you've been alive. Generations of design, generations of control, schools that teach obedience, not power. Jobs that feed you just enough to survive, never enough to break free. Media that keeps your mind spinning in a fog of fear, anger, and distraction. Why? Because the second you start to truly lock in, physically, mentally, financially, you take back ground. You stop being a pawn. You stop playing small. And that terrifies them. Because every ounce of strength you reclaim is an ounce of power they lose. Smart money versus slave money. Let's talk about money. Because this is where the war is most obvious. They want you broke or barely scraping by. Why? Because the broke man is easy to control. The broke man will clock in every morning, no matter how soul-crushing the work. The broke man will swallow whatever they feed him, because he doesn't have options. The broke man has no leverage, no freedom, no say in the direction of his life. But smart money is dangerous. Smart money is freedom. Smart money means you don't need their system. And the more smart money that hits the system, the more people waking up, learning the game, stacking assets instead of liabilities, the less control they have over you. That's why they flood you with ads for instant gratification. That's why they push debt like candy. That's why they ridicule saving, investing, discipline. They know if you ever lock in financially, you'll walk away from their circus. And if too many of us walk away, the machine collapses. Locking in means war. Don't romanticize this. Locking in isn't pretty. It's war. It's sacrifice. It's trading comfort for power. It's waking up when you don't feel like it. It's putting the work in when no one claps for you. It's telling friends no. It's cutting off dead weight. It's eating discipline instead of dopamine. It's being willing to look crazy while the masses cheer for their own slavery. Because let me tell you the truth. The masses love their chains. They polish them. They parade them around. They defend them. And if you choose to break free, you'll be hated for it. They'll call you obsessed. They'll call you cold. They'll call you ruthless. Good. Let them. Because warriors are never celebrated at the start. They're feared. And locking in will make you dangerous, not just to the system, but to every excuse you've ever clung to. The stakes are blood deep. Don't think this is just about you. It's about your family, your children, the people you claim you love. Because every time you play small, every time you avoid locking in, you're not just handing over your freedom, you're handing over theirs. You're condemning them to the same dependency, The same cycle, the same invisible prison. Think about that. Your weakness doesn't just cost you. It costs everyone tied to you. And when the day comes where the system tightens its grip, when food prices rise, when jobs vanish, when chaos hits, your family will look to you. And if you haven't locked in, you'll have nothing to give them but excuses. That's the weight of this choice. This is not a game. This is survival. No more playing small. So I'll ask again, and this time I expect an answer. When are you going to stop playing small? When are you going to stop hiding behind distractions? When are you going to stop telling yourself you'll start next week? When are you going to stop giving the system exactly what it wants? Your compliance, your comfort, your surrender. Lock in. Lock in like your life depends on it. Lock in like your children's freedom depends on it. Lock in like the war has already begun. Because it has. And understand this. Once you lock in, truly lock in, the world shifts. You see through the illusions. You stop being pulled like a puppet. You become sovereign. You become feared. You become untouchable. The system will still exist, but you won't be its pawn anymore. You'll be the player. And from that day on, the only question left will be, how far are you willing to go? You want to lock in? Then understand this. Motivation isn't magic. Momentum isn't luck. They're built, brick by brick, choice by choice, day after day. There are laws to this game. Laws that don't care about your feelings, your excuses, or your circumstances. You either align with them, or you get crushed under the weight of your own inaction. If you're ready to stop drifting, if you're ready to break the system's hold and rise into the version of yourself that cannot be stopped, then engrave these into your mind. These are the 7 laws of unstoppable motivation and momentum. Law 1. The law of no escape. There is no motivation in safety. There is no momentum in comfort. Every time you give yourself an exit, you hand your power back to the system. You whisper, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back. You promise yourself, if it gets too hard, I'll find another way. That's why you never move. That's why you never win. You've left yourself a trap door, and the human mind will always crawl through it when the fire gets hot. The law of no escape is brutal because it demands that you burn the boats. It demands that you remove every fallback, every excuse, every soft landing that cushions you from the pain of failure. History has proven this over and over. Armies that landed on foreign shores and destroyed their ships behind them fought with a savagery that men with a way home could never match. Why? Because they had no choice. Win or die. That's the law. Look at your life. How many boats have you left floating in the water? The job you hate but won't quit because it's safe. The backup plan you cling to when your dream feels impossible. The toxic relationship you keep around because being alone scares you more than staying chained. These are your boats. These are your escapes. And as long as they exist, you'll never lock in fully. You'll keep 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And men who fight with 1 foot out never win wars. No escape forces a shift inside you. It turns half-hearted attempts into life-or-death missions. When you strip away the safety nets, something awakens in the human spirit. A raw animal drive to claw, scratch, and fight for survival. That's where motivation becomes unstoppable. That's where momentum becomes permanent. Understand this. Comfort is the enemy of momentum. Safety is the cage that keeps you small. The world will tell you to keep your options open, to always have a plan B. That's a lie. A second option is not security. It's sabotage. Plan B is the graveyard where Plan A goes to die. When you live by the law of no escape, failure transforms. It's no longer the end. It's the beginning. You don't ask, what if this doesn't work? You ask, what must I become to make this work? That shift in question changes everything. Suddenly, setbacks are no longer a reason to retreat. They're fuel to fight harder. You stop running from the fire and start charging into it, because the only way out is through. And don't confuse this with recklessness. The law of no escape doesn't mean you leap blind. It means once you've chosen your path, once you've drawn your sword, you commit with everything you have. It means you go all in. No hesitation, no retreat, no surrender. Because momentum is only built when your actions leave no room for turning back. Picture two men climbing a mountain. The first carries a parachute. The second carries nothing but his will. The one with the parachute, at the first sign of struggle, thinks, I can always jump. His climb weakens. His grip loosens. His focus scatters. But the one with nothing, he climbs with bloodied hands, broken nails, lungs screaming, because there is no escape. And he reaches the summit, not because it was easier, but because his will was absolute. This law must become the foundation of your life. Burn the boats, tear down the bridges. Remove the words, if it doesn't work, from your vocabulary. Lock in with no exits. Motivation will come and go like the wind. But when there is no escape, your momentum becomes self-sustaining, because survival demands it. So the next time you feel yourself hesitating, ask, what escape am I leaving for myself? What boat have I refused to burn? And then destroy it. Erase it. Remove it from your world until the only path left is forward. That's when the law of no escape takes hold. That's when you become dangerous. Because a man with options is weak, but a man with no escape is unstoppable. Law 2. The law of ruthless discipline. Discipline is the backbone of momentum. Without it, motivation is a spark that flares and dies before it lights anything on fire. You can watch every motivational video, read every book, scream affirmations into the mirror. But if you lack discipline, you will always fall back into the pit. Because motivation is emotion. Discipline is execution. And execution is the only thing that changes lives. Here's the brutal truth. The world is filled with people who want. They want money. They want health. They want freedom. But wanting is weak. Desire without discipline is just fantasy. And fantasy never built empires. The law of ruthless discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired, if you're uninspired, if you're scared. It demands you rise and do what must be done anyway. You wake up and work. You show up and fight. You execute, not because you feel like it, but because the mission demands it. That is the dividing line between the masses who dream and the warriors who dominate. Think of a soldier sharpening his blade. He doesn't wait until he feels in the mood to prepare for battle. He sharpens daily, because he knows war will come whether he feels ready or not. That's what discipline is. Preparing, moving, advancing regardless of mood. Because life doesn't care about your moods. The system doesn't care about your moods. The enemy doesn't care about your moods. Only action carves your destiny. And here's the trap. Your brain will fight this law with everything it has. It will whisper excuses. It will rationalize comfort. It will tell you that you've done enough, that you deserve rest, that you can push it to tomorrow. That voice is the assassin of momentum. Discipline is the counterattack. Discipline answers, no, I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm finished. Ruthless discipline is not about doing a little better. It's about rewriting your identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who does not negotiate with weakness. When the alarm rings, you rise. When the body aches, you train. When the world distracts, you lock in. Every small action compounds. Every day you obey the law, your momentum grows heavier, faster, more unstoppable. Look back at your life. Every breakthrough you've ever had. Every time you felt yourself growing. Every time you actually won was built on discipline. Not inspiration. Not luck. Discipline. The days you forced yourself to study when you wanted to quit. The days you worked on your craft when no one cared. The days you pushed through fatigue, through rejection, through boredom. That's where the foundation was laid. But here's what separates warriors from the weak. Ruthlessness. Because discipline that bends is not discipline. It's preference. True discipline doesn't break when it's inconvenient. It doesn't collapse when others tempt you. It doesn't waver when comfort calls. Ruthless discipline cuts off all excuses, all softness, all negotiation. It becomes law, non-negotiable, untouchable. Imagine your life if you truly lived this way. If every morning you woke with a command, execute. No questions, no bargaining, no hesitation. Imagine if every action, your training, your work, your finances, your relationships was driven by this relentless standard. Momentum wouldn't just build, it would compound until it became an avalanche no one could stop. That's the secret most people miss. Motivation may start the fire, but discipline keeps it burning through the storm. Discipline is the fuel that doesn't run out, the force that doesn't fade. And when it becomes ruthless, when it becomes your identity, you cross a line most people never even approach. So understand this. If you want to be unstoppable, you must slaughter your dependency on feeling like it. You must kill the negotiation. You must rise each day with the steel resolve to obey the law of ruthless discipline. Because when discipline becomes your blood, momentum becomes your destiny. Law 3. The law of painful progress. No great momentum has ever been built in comfort. No warrior has ever risen from a soft bed of ease. Momentum lives where pain lives. It grows in the soil of struggle. It's forged in the furnace of discomfort, rejection, fatigue, and failure. That's why so few ever taste it, because the masses spend their lives running from pain while warriors weaponize it. The truth is harsh. The reason you are where you are is because you have avoided pain. You've built your routines around comfort, around safety, around avoiding the sting of discipline and the fire of growth. You've chosen the easier path, and the easier path never leads upward. It spirals downward. That's why you've been stuck. That's why you felt powerless. Because you've treated pain like the enemy when in reality it was the doorway to becoming unstoppable. The law of painful progress teaches you that pain is not punishment. It's proof. Every time you feel your muscles ache, every time you feel your lungs burn, every time your mind screams to quit, that is life telling you, you're growing. Momentum isn't built when everything feels smooth. It's built in the days you want to collapse, but keep moving. It's built in the hours when rejection cuts deep, but you step forward anyway. Pain is not the signal to stop. Pain is the compass pointing to your next level. Think of the blacksmith. hammering steel. Every strike is violent. Every strike sends sparks flying. The steel bends, breaks, resists. But under the heat and the blows, it transforms into a weapon. Without pain, the steel stays weak. Without the fire, the hammer, the sparks, it never becomes what it was meant to be. You are the same. The pain is not there to break you. It is there to shape you. But here is where the weak fall. They confuse pain with defeat. They hit resistance and think, this must not be for me. They taste failure once and retreat into comfort, never realizing that the pain they avoided was the very thing that could have built their momentum. Warriors see it differently. Warriors step into pain deliberately. They embrace it because they know that the other side of pain is growth, and growth compounds into unstoppable momentum. You cannot build momentum by avoiding what hurts. You build it by leaning into it. The rep you don't want to do, the work you dread, the hard conversation you're scared to have. Each one is pain. Each one is progress. And the more you collect, the more momentum you build, until pain itself becomes fuel. The law of painful progress demands that you stop running, stop numbing, stop hiding. You don't dull the pain with distraction, with substances, with excuses. You face it with open eyes. You grab it by the throat and use it. Because the truth is, pain will come for you either way. You cannot escape it. You will either suffer the pain of growth or the pain of regret. One makes you unstoppable. The other chains you forever. Ask yourself, how much pain have you truly endured in pursuit of your vision? How many times have you leaned into the fire when everything in you wanted to retreat? Because that number will tell you the truth about why your life is where it is. Momentum is always proportional to the level of pain you've been willing to endure. Warriors are unstoppable, not because they're immune to pain, but because they refuse to let it stop them. You've been lied to your whole life. They told you success should feel smooth. They told you to chase comfort, to avoid suffering, to seek balance. But balance is stagnation. Comfort is death. The fire is where life is. The pain is where growth is. The struggle is where momentum is born. So the next time pain hits, don't run. Don't flinch. Don't beg for relief. Smile. Welcome it. Because every ounce of pain you endure willingly becomes momentum you carry forever. Every scar becomes a reminder that you can't be broken. Every wound heals into armor that makes you unshakable. This is the law of painful progress. No pain, no growth. No growth, no momentum. And no momentum, no victory. If you want to be unstoppable, you must bleed for it. You must suffer for it. You must embrace the fire and let it carve you into steel. Because progress isn't free. It has always demanded pain. And only those who pay in full become untouchable. Law 4. The law of violent consistency. Momentum is not built in a single moment of inspiration. It's not built on a single victory or a single great day of effort. Momentum is built in the quiet, brutal repetition of showing up, again and again, with the same violence, the same intent, the same unwavering standard, until your actions carve reality into the shape you demand. This is the law of violent consistency, the unshakable commitment to doing what needs to be done every single day, no matter the weather, no matter the mood, no matter who's watching. Most people never understand this. They think momentum is born in bursts. They sprint hard for a week, then vanish for a month. They build, then they vanish. They start, then they stop. And they wonder why nothing changes. They wonder why their goals slip through their hands year after year, It's because inconsistency is poison. Every time you stop, every time you hesitate, you reset the clock. You lose the compound interest of discipline. A warrior does not move that way. A warrior understands that consistency is power. He sharpens the blade every day, not because he feels like it, but because war never announces its arrival. He trains when it's boring. He grinds when no one is clapping. He stacks small wins so relentlessly that momentum becomes inevitable. Violent consistency is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up with force every single day, refusing to negotiate with excuses, refusing to drift even when your body screams and your mind begs for rest. Consistency turns action into habit, habit into identity, and identity into destiny. Think of a river carving through stone, not because of one massive surge, but because of endless, relentless motion. Drop after drop, day after day, year after year, until the impossible is reshaped. That is what violent consistency does to your life. It wears down resistance. It turns hard walls into open paths. It bends reality to your will, because you never stop striking. Here's the reality. You won't always feel motivated. Most days, you won't. That's when this law matters most. Because when you strip away the glamour, momentum is just physics. An object in motion stays in motion. The moment you stop, resistance grows stronger. The moment you stop, your discipline erodes. But when you keep moving, when you refuse to stop, momentum compounds until it becomes a force of nature. Violent consistency is uncomfortable. It's unglamorous. It's monotonous. And that's why it's rare. But it's also why it's powerful. Because every single day you show up, every single day you do the work without fail, you separate yourself from the masses drowning in their own excuses. You have to understand something. Consistency is not optional if you want to be unstoppable. It's not something you try. It's a law, a command, a daily war that you either win or lose. And when you win that war every day, momentum doesn't just build, it explodes. Violent consistency is setting the standard so high that mediocrity dies the moment it enters your mind. It's not missing your workout for a week because you had a rough few days. It's not skipping your work because life got in the way. It's looking life dead in the eye and saying, nothing stops me. Nothing breaks me. Nothing takes me off my path. The masses will never understand this. They think momentum is magic. They think success is luck. They think greatness is for the chosen few. But the truth is simpler, harsher, and far more empowering. Greatness belongs to those who refuse to stop swinging. To those who attack the day with violent consistency, no matter how they feel, no matter who doubts them. Every day you execute, you stack bricks. Every day you execute, you build momentum. And every day you execute, you remind the world that you cannot be moved. This law is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the weak from the warriors, the average from the unstoppable. When you obey the law of violent consistency, there is no such thing as failure, only progress, only growth, only the forward march toward inevitable victory. So, if you want to own your life, if you want to dominate your field, if you want to build momentum so powerful that nothing can stop it, then engrave this law into your bones. Show up violently, show up consistently, and never, ever stop moving. Because momentum is not a spark, it's a fire. And violent consistency is the gasoline. Law 5. The law of energy control. Energy is the currency of momentum. Without it, motivation dies. Without it, Discipline cracks. Without it, progress stalls. You can have the best vision, the sharpest strategy, the strongest will, but if your energy is scattered, drained, or wasted, you lose the war before it even begins. The law of energy control is ruthless. You must guard your energy like a fortress, or the world will rob you blind. Every conversation, every distraction, every wasted hour is theft. And most of you are broke not because you lack time, not because you lack talent, but because you've let your energy be siphoned away into nothing. Look around at how the system operates. It is designed to steal your energy. Social media feeds engineered to keep you scrolling until your focus dies. Processed food that spikes your blood sugar and leaves you sluggish. Empty conversations that drain your mind. Dead-end jobs that sap your spirit. Every angle is aimed at one thing. Keep you tired, keep you distracted, keep you powerless. And it works. Because you've never learned the law. You've never learned to say no. You've never learned to cut off the leaks. You've been taught to believe your energy is infinite. But it's not. It's finite. And when you waste it on gossip, on arguments, on meaningless entertainment, you leave nothing for the mission. Warriors understand this. Warriors know their energy is their weapon. Every hour, every ounce of focus, every heartbeat must be channeled toward the fight. That means ruthless control. That means cutting out people who drain you. That means refusing to engage in battles that don't matter. That means feeding your body with discipline, your mind with truth, and your soul with vision. Because everything you consume either strengthens your energy or poisons it. Energy control is not just about saying no, it's about intentional direction. Think of a laser. Unfocused light illuminates a room. Focused light cuts through steel. That's the difference between the average and the unstoppable. The average scatter their energy everywhere. A little here, a little there. Never enough force to break through. But the warrior channels every ounce into a single path, and nothing can stand in the way. Ask yourself, how much of your energy is stolen daily by things that don't matter? How much is burned on anger at things you can't control? How much is wasted in endless loops of distraction, procrastination, and cheap dopamine hits? That's the truth about why your momentum dies. You're fighting the wrong battles. The law of energy control demands mastery over yourself. Control your body. Fuel it with strength, not poison. Control your mind. Feed it with discipline, not noise. Control your spirit. Align it with your mission, not the expectations of the weak. Every act of energy control compounds, and soon your momentum becomes unstoppable because nothing leaks, nothing drains, nothing distracts. But here's the brutal part. This law requires sacrifice. It requires cutting people out of your life. It requires letting go of habits that comfort you, but kill your strength. It requires silence when others want you to chatter. It requires focus when others want you to drift. That's why so few obey it. They fear the loneliness. They fear the boredom. They fear the discipline required to protect their energy. And yet, the warrior embraces it, because he knows momentum cannot survive without energy. He knows that control today means victory tomorrow. He knows that when every ounce of energy is weaponized, he becomes a force of nature. Sharp, relentless, unstoppable. So the choice is yours. Keep scattering your energy. Keep wasting your fire. Keep bleeding yourself dry on meaningless battles. Or obey the law. Guard your energy. Direct it with precision. Feed it with discipline. And watch as your momentum accelerates beyond anything you thought possible. This is the law of energy control. Energy wasted is life wasted. Energy focused is destiny forged. Law 6. The law of obsession. Balance is a lie. They've sold you the fantasy that you can have it all: comfort and greatness, freedom and laziness, mastery and mediocrity, without paying the price. But the truth is brutal. Balance doesn't build warriors. Balance doesn't create momentum. Balance is where dreams go to die. The law of obsession strips the illusion away. If you want to become unstoppable, if you want momentum so heavy it feels like gravity itself is pulling you forward, you must lock in with a level of focus that borders on madness. You must live and breathe your mission until every choice, every thought, every second of your existence bends toward it. The weak will never understand this. They'll look at your commitment and call it unhealthy. They'll call you obsessed like it's an insult. They'll tell you to relax, to slow down, to enjoy the moment. But here's the truth. Those voices come from the comfortable, from the ones who settled, from the ones who traded their potential for distraction and ease. They don't hate your obsession. They hate that your obsession reminds them of what they'll never be. Obsession is the great separator. It's the reason one man drowns in average, while another carves his name into history. The difference is never talent. It's never luck. It's an unrelenting fixation, a refusal to let go until the mission is complete. Think about the greats. Every empire builder, every innovator, every warrior who bent the world to their will. They weren't balanced. They weren't dabbling. They weren't dipping their toes in the water. They were consumed. They ate with it, slept with it, bled with it. Their focus was a blade honed so sharp, it cut through the noise and carved a path no one else could walk. But here's the part they don't tell you. Obsession is painful. It isolates you. It strips away the illusions of comfort and leaves you naked in the reality of your mission. It demands early mornings and late nights. It demands saying no to almost everything. Every distraction, every detour, every easy pleasure, so that you can say yes to the work, the grind, the climb. And that's where most people break. They want greatness, but they want comfort more. They want results, but they want balance more. They want momentum, but they want to live like everyone else. And so they drift year after year, telling themselves they'll get serious someday, not realizing that someday is already gone. Obsession is what locks you in. It's what turns discipline from a choice into a reflex. It's what makes the hard days automatic, the boring days productive, the impossible days inevitable. Obsession removes the debate, the hesitation, the internal war that kills progress. When you're obsessed, there's no plan B, no backup, no retreat. There's only forward. And let's be clear, obsession isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things, the vital things, with an intensity the world can't match. It's about cutting out the noise so that every ounce of your time and energy compounds in one direction. That's how momentum becomes unstoppable, not by scattering yourself thin, but by locking in with brutal precision. So ask yourself, what are you obsessed with? What do you think about when you wake up? What keeps you awake at night? What mission are you willing to bleed for, to be misunderstood for, to sacrifice for until it's done? Because until you find that, you will always drift. Until you find that, your motivation will always flicker and die. Until you find that, your momentum will never last. The law of obsession demands you choose. Choose your mission, choose your path, and then give it everything. Not for a week, Not for a month, for as long as it takes, until the goal bends to your will, until your reality matches your vision, until there's nothing left to take. Balance is for the masses. Obsession is for the few. And the few, the ones who lock in, who burn for their mission, who live with a hunger that never dies, become the unstoppable. Law 7. The law of relentless forward motion. Momentum is built on movement, period. The moment you stop, the moment you hesitate, the moment you freeze in doubt, your momentum bleeds out like an open wound. Progress isn't about perfection, it's about motion. Relentless, unshakable, forward motion. This is where most people fail. They overthink. They analyze every angle. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect time, the perfect version of themselves before they act. And while they're waiting, while they're planning, while they're convincing themselves they're preparing, someone else is already out there moving. Someone else is stacking wins, building momentum, and putting miles of distance between them and the dreamers who are still standing still. Relentless forward motion doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't ask if you're scared. It doesn't ask if the path is clear. It simply demands one thing: move. Take the next step. Make the next call. Do the next rep. Write the next line. Learn the next skill. Stack the next brick. It doesn't matter how small the step is. What matters is that you take it, and then you take the next one. Even crawling forward is progress. Even crawling builds momentum. But standing still kills you. Because when you stop, resistance grows stronger. Fear grows louder. Doubt digs deeper roots. Momentum dies not with failure, but with stagnation. This law is a blade against the throat of perfectionism. Perfection is a cage, a lie designed to keep you paralyzed while time bleeds away. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a perfect plan. There will only ever be right now. This second, this breath, this opportunity to take action. And here's the brutal truth. Forward motion breeds clarity. You don't find the perfect plan sitting still. You find it in the doing. You find it in the grind, in the adjustments, in the iterations that only action reveals. Motion creates momentum. Momentum creates feedback. Feedback creates precision. That's how you sharpen yourself into something lethal. Think of a shark. It cannot stop swimming, or it dies. You are no different. If you stop moving, you drown in your own hesitation. But when you keep moving, when you keep pushing, keep striking, keep advancing, the current shifts. Opportunities appear. Doors open. Momentum snowballs until it feels like the universe itself is bending to your will. But relentless forward motion doesn't just demand action, it demands faith. Faith that every step, no matter how small, is building something greater. Faith that even the missteps are progress, because you're still moving, still learning, still sharpening. Momentum rewards those who refuse to stop. The weak will look for reasons to pause. They'll wait for motivation to return. They'll freeze when the path gets hard, telling themselves they'll try again tomorrow. But tomorrow is a graveyard for wasted potential. The warrior moves anyway, through the fear, through the pain, through the uncertainty, because forward motion is non-negotiable. This law is simple, but it is not easy. It will demand that you silence the voices that tell you to stop. It will demand that you crush the need for comfort, the addiction to ease, the poison of procrastination. It will demand that you keep moving, even when you feel lost, even when you feel broken, even when the weight of the climb threatens to crush you. But when you obey it, when you keep moving forward no matter what, you become unstoppable. Every step builds momentum. Every action compounds. And before you realize it, you've become a force that nothing can slow, nothing can shake, nothing can break. That is the law of relentless forward motion. Progress over perfection, motion over hesitation, momentum over stagnation. Keep moving, always. Because the moment you stop, you surrender. And warriors do not surrender. You've heard the laws. Now you have a choice. Keep living the way you've been living. Half asleep, half committed, half alive, or burn the old version of yourself and rebuild into something untouchable. There is no middle ground. There never was. These aren't theories. These aren't empty words. These are laws. Unforgiving, unbreakable, universal. You either obey them or you stay chained to the life you swore you hated. The law of no escape demands you burn the boats, kill the safety nets, stop running back to comfort every time the fire gets hot. Because comfort never built momentum, war did. The law of ruthless discipline demands you stop waiting to feel ready. Stop negotiating with weakness. Show up. Execute. Do the work even when the world tells you to rest. Especially then. The law of painful progress reminds you that pain is the price. Not a punishment. Not a curse. A toll that every warrior pays to level up. The weak run from it. The unstoppable embrace it. The law of violent consistency demands daily war. The repetition. The grind. The boring, unglamorous days where momentum is forged in silence, while everyone else scrolls, parties, and drifts. The law of energy control teaches you to guard your focus like a king guards his throne. Cut out the leeches, starve the distractions, feed your body, your mind, and your mission until every ounce of you is weaponized. The law of obsession demands you go deeper, that you stop pretending balance and greatness coexist, that you let your mission consume you until every breath you take, every thought you think, every action you execute pushes you forward. And the law of relentless forward motion? That one is simple. Move. Always move. Small steps, big steps, broken steps, it doesn't matter. Momentum doesn't reward perfection. It rewards motion. Understand this. The system wants you compliant. They want you drifting. They want you tired, distracted, broke, and docile, because a man with no momentum is easy to control. But a man who is locked in, a man who obeys these laws, he terrifies them, because he cannot be bought, broken, or bent. You are that man, if you choose to be. So burn the excuses, build the habits, embrace the pain, channel your energy, feed the obsession, and above all else, keep moving forward. Momentum is not given. It is not inherited. It is seized through blood, through discipline, through a commitment so absolute that the world has no choice but to bend. Lock in, live the laws, and become unstoppable.